Prime rib can be intimidating to cook, but the easy to follow recipe that I'm going to show you today will eliminate all the guesswork and will allow you to make at home a gourmet butter-basted garlic and herb infused steak that is similar to what you get at the finest steakhouses. I'm Hani Maroof, and this is my favorite recipe for the most tender and juiciest ribeye steak. To make the most delicious, super tender and juicy ribeye steak that can be cooked in a few minutes and literally give you a gourmet steakhouse experience at home, ask your butcher for a 1-inch thick 320 to 350 gram of prime ribeye cut that has good marbling. To complement the nutritional value, taste and look of your steak, combine it with some fresh asparagus, a red bell pepper, 50 gram of butter and 4 cloves of garlic. You're gonna use 2 cloves of garlic to flavor the steak, and the other 2 will be used for cooking the vegetables. For seasoning the steak, use some coarse kosher salt, 1 gram or 1 teaspoon of dry thyme, extra virgin olive oil, and freshly ground black pepper. I just got my steak out of the fridge and it's still cold, so I'm gonna leave it out of the fridge to get room temperature before it can be cooked. For now, I will start by seasoning the steak and let it rest on my countertop for 30 minutes to absorb the seasoning and get room temperature. Season the steak with the coarse kosher salt on one side. Flip the steak and season with more kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. I have adjusted my pepper mill to produce coarse black pepper flakes, and this is the best setting for seasoning steaks. So, if you're using pepper mill, set it to produce large flakes of black pepper. Mop the sides of the steak with seasoning leftovers and press on it to make the seasoning stick to the steak. Sticking the seasoning to the meat is important for giving the steak an amazing savory flavor. Once the steak is seasoned from all sides, leave it for 30 minutes to absorb the seasoning and get to room temperature, and during this time, you can prepare the sides for your steak. Use some fresh asparagus, 1 red bell pepper, and 2 cloves of garlic to make a fantastic, healthy, and delicious low-carb side with your steak. For seasoning the vegetables, use pink Himalayan salt, freshly ground black pepper, and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. No one enjoys eating the woody part of the asparagus, so start by cutting the woody part and get rid of it. The fresher the asparagus, the smaller this woody part will be, so try to use asparagus that is as fresh as possible. For a professional look of your dish, remove the bottom part of the red bell pepper and save it for salad or pizza. Then cut the flesh of the red bell pepper and create equal-sized rectangular pieces. Season all vegetables with pink Himalayan salt and some freshly ground black pepper. Add a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, then use a garlic press to press the 2 cloves of garlic. Use your fingers to mix everything together and cover the vegetables with the salt, pepper, pressed garlic, and olive oil mixture. Some people like to drizzle the olive oil first and then add the seasoning. You can also do that, but in my opinion, it doesn't really matter what you do first as long as you mix everything properly with your fingers. The vegetables are now prepared and ready for cooking. To enhance the flavor of the steak, mix the 50 gram of butter with the dry thyme, press the 2 cloves of garlic, and microwave the butter, herb, and garlic mix until the butter melts and gets warm. Warming the butter will release the aroma and flavor from the thyme and garlic into the butter. So when you baste the steak during cooking with this incredibly aromatic butter, the butter will caramelize and the aroma and flavors of the garlic and thyme will infuse the steak and make it so delicious. You can also use fresh thyme or rosemary, but today I wanted to show you how to make an amazing steak with just few ingredients from your spice cabinet. Now the steak has rested for 30 minutes and it is at room temperature. Drizzle some extra virgin olive oil to protect the steak from burning. Add some extra virgin olive oil on the other side and pat the seasoning with your hand. The steak is now ready to meet my cast iron super hot sizzling grill pan. To get a perfectly seared medium rare steak, always use cast iron pans. These pans are fantastic with any meat that needs searing. Put the grill pan on high heat and add a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. Wait until it gets very hot and the oil starts smoking. Cook the steak on one side for 1 to 1.5 minutes and then flip to cook the other side. After flipping, baste the steak with the delicious thyme and garlic infused butter without scooping the actual pressed garlic and dried thyme on the steak. If you put pressed garlic and thyme on the steak with the butter, the garlic will burn and will not make your steak taste good. After 1 to 1.5 minutes, use a kitchen tongue, hold the steak vertically and cook the sides to render the fat cap. This rendered fat will give your steak a natural grilling flavor that can never be achieved using any kind of oil. Flip the steak to the other direction to create steakhouse grill marks and baste with more thyme and garlic infused butter. With the heat from the pan, this butter will caramelize and will take your steak to a whole new level. Flip the steak one more time to finish the other side, give the steak more searing flavor and professional grill marks. You can flip the steak as much as you want if you're using a regular cast iron pan, but if you're using a steak grill pan like mine, flipping the steak more than 4 times will ruin the grill marks. Get the steak off the pan and let it rest for a couple of minutes before serving. During these 2 to 3 minutes, use the same grill pan with all the flavors from the steak and quickly char the asparagus and the red bell peppers. Add a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil and cook the vegetables on high heat until the vegetables are lightly charred. This step should be finished in 2 minutes because if you take long time, the steak will get cold before you serve it. So do your steak a favor and don't be scared to turn up the heat and char the vegetables super quickly. Cooking the vegetables on low heat will fully cook them and will not make them charred with grill marks. This will totally ruin the concept of combining the steak with a crunchy charred fresh vegetables. So, as you did with the steak, char on high heat for as little as 2 minutes. Once the vegetables are charred, get them off the pan and you will be ready to assemble the dish. One of the things I really like about this dish is that it literally takes 20 seconds to assemble. After the steak is roasted, place it on one side of the plate, shingle the charred red bell peppers on the other side and put the asparagus in the middle. If you make the dish assembly simple and quick, the dish will look beautiful and the steak will be hot, tender and more exciting to eat when you serve it. Now let me cut the steak to show you how using this technique will make you cook the steak to perfection every time you make it. My first impression when I started cutting the steak is that it is very tender. That my steak knife cuts through the meat without any resistance whatsoever. Now look at this. The steak is properly seared with these beautiful grill marks that make the steak look amazing, and it is pink from inside, which makes the steak perfect medium rare. Now let me take a bite and tell you how it tastes. This is so delicious. You really can't imagine how the flavor from the grilled meat combines with the seasoning, the thyme and garlic infused butter that has been also caramelized to create this beautiful piece of steak. Now let me also try the vegetables and tell you my opinion. The asparagus here is still crunchy as I like it and tastes very fresh. And the simple seasoning on these vegetables makes their natural flavor pop. You can always add some lemon juice on the asparagus if you want to, but I don't like to do this with meat. I always do it when I cook asparagus with fish. As you might have noticed, vegetables are my favorite sides with many dishes, but you can also serve this steak with some sauteed mushrooms, baked or mashed potatoes, and you will be very happy. Please try this recipe and tell me in the comments below what are your favorite sides with your steak, and share your opinion on Food Basics Reinvented Facebook and Instagram pages. I hope you like this episode. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bon appetit!